Welcome to my channel, The Clay Story Sculptor. This is the continuation of my Bob Ross challenge where I try to sculpt along with Bob as he paints one of his magnificent landscape paintings. However, I am using polymer clay. As you know by now, the name of the episode from The Joy of Painting is Quiet Cove. Okay, let's get back to my Sculpt video commentary. As you can see, I've added dark clay speckles to the canvas to create a foreground range of smaller mountains. Smear the dark forms into the midsection of the canvas using my flat blunt-edged tool. Roll a black clay sausage and add bits of it here for this formation. It will make sense soon enough. Back to rolling and smearing, blending the new mountains. I do apologize for the shaky camera during some of this episode. Like a silly sausage, I did not realize the camera stand was slightly touching the desk, so my vigorous ball stylus clay work caused the camera to vibrate. Amateur error, however, seeing as this was my first end-to-end video for the channel, it gave me many useful lessons. Things do improve. I highly recommend venturing over to the official Bob Ross YouTube channel if you haven't already, because it is full of personality, talent, chill, and artistic therapy, not to mention great paintings, and lots of training and tips. These mountains in the foreground need to be a bit bigger, because I haven't covered all of the yellow and red background like Bob has in his painting. So I am going to town on the dark mountain clay with my large ball stylus. Once again, I am so sorry about the shaking camera. A lesson learned, which I fix for my next sculpture video. Next, we need snow on one side of each mountain and slope, and the shadow on the other to give each of them dimension, depth. I just add strips of white and bluish clay to each of these slopes and smear them down. Between the ball stylus and the blunt flat-edged tools, plus perhaps one sharper edge and point, I think these are all the tools I would need to do this from scratch. The shadow and snow effect is so effective, and now I realize so simple. Just got to have a bit of faith. Adding a little white clay here and here, build up the snowy areas. Up the mountain here, to bring the geology down a bit more. It's epic. So we're blending it all in, blending it all in. So, if you haven't already guessed yet, this diagonal black line of clay is actually the beginning of Foothills. I thought they were forests, but Bob says Foothills. Trust in Bob. So it is a similar technique to before. First add the darker clays to form the bulk shape of the terrain in question, then blend it into the canvas. Then the additional colored clays, highlights and shadows will come soon enough. I sprinkled flakes of brown, black, turquoise, and green clay along each foothill row, and blended them with my ball stylus. This created 3 tiers of foothills and added depth to the sculpted landscape. Although now that I've blended the heck out of the foothills, they don't quite look right. It looks like earth tumbling and crumbling off at the edge of a floating island into a fiery lake. Quite pretty. I'm cutting the treetop shapes into the foothills using an edged tool. More distinct, like a skyline shadow of tree tops. That looks all right. Treetops in the distance. Now for my clay extruder. Squeeze out some clay sausages. Cheap as chips tool, from a bargain bin. Using these holes. I'm a little worried I am running low on colored clays. But the method is working, it's giving me a similar effect to what Bob is instructing on my other screen. Bob's looks great. Hope I can achieve half of what he has done. So, I've added long lines of the extruded tiny sausages to each of my foothill rows, and then started blending that into each row with my ball stylus. I'm trying to follow Bob with what I have at my disposal. It's all part of the challenge. The sausage line I am blending now is the light blue. Blur the blue down into the other colors. Give it texture and form. You may notice aspect ratio and resolution changes as I explore my camera's options and learn. Extreme close-up. Slashing and slicing vertical lines into the black of the foothill row to create more trees. Better definition. There we go. That's looking quite good actually. More mini green sausages extruded. These will go along the second foothill row. Then press them in with this flat-edged tool. I use this one occasionally when I want to press and also cut delicately. It has a thin edge. Exactly, slicing the trees into the green pea green and midnight black clay with a delicate edge. Rapid slicing. There's a great documentary over on the official Bob Ross and Joy of Painting YouTube channel that tells you about the journey taken by Bob and the team making it happen, and the present day and future of the endeavor. Some real amazing facts in that documentary, not only about the man himself and how he inspired others, but also how he too was inspired, his life in the military, and people who believed in the concept and his painting, and helped the spark become a phenomenon. Some juicy bits too, about how many copies of each painting there are, and how they were created, and where they are kept. Amazing! Thanks to the whole team. To my subscribers and viewers, you may want to pop over there and check it out. It's very inspiring. Extruding white clay to create what Bob is saying is the edge of the water. This is the edge of a lake or river. So yeah, I've positioned my shorelines a bit different, but the gist is the same. The lake reflects the mountains, sky, and some trees. Beautiful. I'm trying to be inspired by Bob's tutorial, without aiming for identical, but at least I hope it looks like a weird echo. Something I can be proud of, and that may have made Bob smile, and that his team, and other fans, may appreciate. Not that they will ever see it. There must be millions of the Joy of Painting fans all over the world, and since the 1980s, and that's great, a positive force. Stay focused. But let the clay speak. Strange to see it. I know I'm on the shoreline, but Bob's foothills sure do pop. I mean, the clay in my foothills is quite thick, I can feel it. But I like texture in paintings, those lumps and bumps, so this is fine by me. But we've got to remember the method. Bring it down, down, down. Smudge it in, then smear it down, smudge it in, smear it down. There we go. Okay, it's tree time, not tea time. Time to get various bits of colored clay and fragment, break and flake it, and use strips for the happy little trees. Here we go. I'm combining a few colored strips by wrapping them together like a cable. Bubblegum pink, super blues, midnight blacks, and the honey yellow. Place the cable vertically, approximating where Bob is painting his trees. He is using his fan brush to pat the trees into life, then he usually will scrape the tree trunks and branches into the paint with a tool. However, for my clay landscape trees, I need to first combine the colors and paste them on the canvas, before getting stuck in with my cutting and smearing. Pressing that clay trunk mixture in with my flat-edged tool. I think what I'm going to do is actually just peel the trunk into being. There we go. Okay. Press the clay right and left and right and left, creating the tree shape all the way down. Be brave, just do it. Yeah, Bob goes pretty big. He goes all the way down with the trees. There's another tree here, all the way down. Crikey, Bob's really going for it. Boom! The trees are consuming the left and lower left side of the canvas. Great! Yeah, my clay trees need to pretty much take up this entire section over here. Adding strips of black clay to create the tree volume over here. I've more black left than some of the colors, so I will be sparing with the green and brown, even blue and pink strips I add in for now. Okay, so that's the grouping of colors for these trees. At least I think it will be enough before I get smearing and blending and shaping it with my tools. I need to put the trees in on the right-hand side as well. What you are about to see is a pain in the bottom. I did not realize the camera had ran out of power, so I have jumped forward to what you can see here. The trees are generally in place, and so are two foreground pieces of muddy-looking shoreline with some sparse bushes. Here's a closer look. Quite pretty textures. Bob's foreground shoreline looks much more, well, bushy and vibrant and lush. Oh well. Let me try to work some magic. The trick is, due to shortage of colored clays, I need to make the most of it. At the moment, my trees and this foreground shoreline are rather sparse and thin en masse. My pea green is particularly low. It was a single block. I wanted the foreground shoreline foliage, pea green, so it was closer to Bob's, so I tried adding hints of the turquoise clay to the trees instead to save on clay. Love the vibrant sky and mountains, reflecting in the lake. Now to sort out the bedraggled foreground shore. Cutting tiny pieces off this long thin pea green sausage. Place them on the sculpture directly from the tip of the scalpel. At least the trees have brownish trunks now, but the actual foliage and pines are lacking. Not sure of the turquoise. The reflection in the water is a triumph, accomplished with a lot of ball stylus rolling horizontally, gradually blending and blurring the cold mountain colors with the warm sky. I wish I knew the camera had not stopped filming. Okay, dozens of tiny green slices placed. Now, press each with a small ball stylus. It doesn't matter whether they squidge out in a certain style or not, that's the whole point. It's almost like I want them to be a bit random. Later I will tweak them with an edged tool to slice and chop a few shapes. Nothing drastic. More close-up shots in future if I can improve my camera and lighting configuration. Not entirely bushy-like, but they are my muddy leaf mounds beside the lake. Okay, now I'm jabbing these leaves, mosses, orchids, whatever we say they are. We give them a different angle, tear them up a bit, change their shapes, random. This strange tool always comes in handy. It has a pointed nose but also has a cup-like groove. Like a little bowl. Had these tools for ages. So here's what it looks like at the moment. I'm very pleased with the way things are looking. The muddy foreground sure looks much better up close. Okay, so here we are. A bit closer so you can see. I'm poking random shapes into the foliage. I don't want to overdo it. Some finishing touches on the foothill trees make them more distinct. Slicing them in vertically with my scalpel. Now for a striking change. The big trees. I did not think they were happy trees. The colors, their thinness, and their rigidness. Welcome to Trees, version 2. I was basically out of most colored clay, so decided on using the remaining black to upgrade the trees. Please do tell me what you think in the comments. By thickening up some of the existing trees with the black clay, It enabled me to slice deeper and more creatively, providing a more explosive and dynamic appearance. Starting at the top, scoring across, diagonally, and broadly from the trunk. I want to hint the trunk's there, unlike before. So here, for example, just coming across. There we are. Taking risks. Rapid slicing, bring my trees alive with texture you can really feel without touching. Feel with your eyes. I'll say the lesson's been learned about what my foreground shore foliage and mud is supposed to be versus what Bob's amazing bushy bushes actually look like. Back in the 80s, watching Bob magic his trees to life, it's something I've wanted to try since then. I wanted to feel these trees, but in clay, to have strong texture. As soon as I saw Bob put in the trees and how, you know, Bob loves his trees and clouds and things, but as soon as he put the happy trees in there, big and bold and beautiful, I wanted to have them stand out in my piece. Close up, for you. So, I'm going to do this tree, which is closer to us than the others, even thicker with some black clay. Okay, just keep going, trying to keep up with Super Bob, but with polymer clay. Maybe, one day. Now, smearing the clay, going deep trees in the foreground with the ball styluses, small and large. And doing the same effect scoring, rapid slicing with my scalpel at angles. Got to ensure the different trees have a slight variation in depth to tell them apart. There we go. Happy not-so-little trees. I prefer them to the first draft trees, but they are not ideal. Perhaps a hint of color in the black clay is required to highlight them. And here we are a few minutes later after I slashed the texture into the dark trees. Let's have a look at it. Remember, the entire landscape is 100% polymer clay, and as of this moment, unbaked, so I can really play with it. It's still workable. There's definitely room for a few tweaks here and there. I don't want to say improvement, because it is what it is. The sculpture has been born this way, almost, and I want it to remain somewhat emergent. Bottom line is I am down to my last tiny portion of turquoise clay, some black, and a dozen flecks of honey yellow. That's a wrap for this episode. Just one more to go. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video and want to support the channel, please hit the like button, post a comment, and click subscribe. To see more of what the channel has to offer, check out our other videos, and hit the notification bell for future releases. Visit our social media for insights into the creation process. You can view the episode content notes and find out more about the channel in the video description. Please watch out for our Buy Me a Coffee, Patreon, and YouTube memberships when they become available, and consider joining to support the channel. Thank you.